welcome to Shanghai. I'm Wang Ying.
Hi, I'm He Jian. China's EV market continues to grow. New energy vehicles now account for more than half of all vehicles sold in China, and more new technologies are on the way to accelerate the development. Zhang Shixuan has more.
I bet the video held your breath. It's a car crash test at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour. No fire, no explosion for the crashed EV.
The whole industry used to be chasing after only the energy density. And a lot of events happening in the last 2 years, 3 years in Europe, North America, gave us a little bit shock.
汽车行业正在经历百年未有之大变局，定制化的浪潮很快会紧随而至。
A chassis and the driver's seat, that's all what I've got. But I'm ready to go.
Is the lower body of an EV the most critical part?
From the mechanical perspective and from energy management, from motion management perspective, that's correct.
It's redefining the world's EV battery industry.
This is going to be a next step of the whole automotive industry, but also going to change the way of the design philosophy and manufacturing concept.
To some extent, it could change the entire EV industry.
Much of that evolution happened here in Shanghai.
您的时代，磐石底盘正式发布。
CATL has to be in this field. Only competing in price is not the right way.
As the world's top battery maker, CATL alone accounts for around 37% of the world's electric vehicle battery market. But now, the company's not satisfied with just offering the lithium packs anymore.
The battery itself is the chassis itself. Structural perspective is 2-in-1.
Battery already takes up a large part of the costs for an EV. What about the chassis?
Battery plus chassis is possibly around half of the cost from BOM perspective.
The battery cells are directly integrated with the chassis. It's a skateboard chassis with the main part of the board flat as a skateboard. And that chassis is where CATL now lays a big focus on.
We don't see this as only a China game. We see this as an international trend.
I went to CATL's test facility in Shanghai to get a ride on the newly launched chassis. It felt just like any other car, but there are some secrets in the chassis.
可以很直观的可以看得到，中间这是一些什么电机啊、热管理相关的，以及发电机、空调等相关的一些附属件会在这里边。那中间的话是我们整个底盘比较核心的部分，我们叫做能量舱。而且3段式的话和那种一体压铸相比的话，从后期的维修成本上边来讲的话是有一定优势的。
It can even run on its own without a driver.
The batteries and electronic systems are all contained in the chassis. No wonder visitors to China's auto shows are often seen trying to get a view underneath.
Here you see this battery cell that we use is a prismatic cell. And the way how we handle the cell is we put it actually 180-degree reversed. And we reuse the floor on the top as a top cover of the battery. And we eliminated the original battery frame.
So below the panel?
The top is the floor.
Okay.
So the venting is actually on the bottom. This is making it safer. We are able to increase the height of battery cell like around 20 millimeters. You could get more energy put into the same battery pack.
So for all the other chassis currently in the market, the whole structure is different.
For all the rest, they have a battery pack inside. And the rocker is actually outside. So that's 2 separate physical parts. Like traditional OEM, they have an architecture, cut a hole, and ask CATL put as much as battery possible into this black hole.
So this is all in one.
This is all in one.
The structure is designed here in Shanghai.
Yes.
The new technology development was planned in the company's battery roadmap in as early as 2018. And a year later, the company formed a team to work on it. Half of the R&D work was done in Shanghai.
You see this facility that we invested here in Lingang, and the team of around 600 people are residing in Dishuihu area. We started with hiring kind of the best talents from the Shanghai region, and with huge experience from the automotive industry.
Chinese EV maker Avatar is one of the first to have ordered a skateboard chassis.
韩式滑板底盘技术应用，有助于我们去重新思考未来汽车的产品形态。比如，基于滑板底盘上下车体结耦，可以减少我们对上车体结构和空间布置的约束。那未来打造城市共享用车，打造我们个人的高端定制车，甚至是无人的零售车，都可以变成真正的小批量定制化的商品实现。
In 2024, China became the first country to have produced more than 10 million new energy vehicles in a year, and 1 in every 2 cars sold was an NEV. With the emergence of the market, technologies are also evolving at a record speed.
Normally, in development process of the traditional automotive, 4 years around is the total cycle that you need to develop a vehicle. And today in China, we see the development lead time is normally 2 years. And we are still trying hard to push with our product and platform. We hope we can push this and shrink the time to market to 12 to 18 months, depends on the application target.
Who expects that it would take another 3 to 5 years for the market to adopt a new technology more broadly.
The year 2024 has not been an easy one for automakers and even all auto suppliers involved. Have you felt that pressure?
Sure. Actually, our first customer is not Avatar. Our skateboard, the first version was in SOP October this year. Official selling date is November. And unfortunately, you see this violent competition in China, and it didn't really proceed that well from the OEM perspective.
Looking ahead to 2025, we see tariff threats from the Western world and geopolitical tensions still there. How are you going to address all those challenges?
We try to work together with our customer, a collaborative strategy, which means we don't necessarily need to always be selling the whole product. We should be competing in value creation. We should be competing in the specialty that you can bring, the special things that you can do together with our OEM to the final customer. So there must be some unique selling points. There must be some unique value.
The global economy in 2025 is expected to be interesting in terms of tariffs and/or trade restrictions,
especially considering what the second Trump administration might bring to the year ahead.
Well, here is a discussion my colleague Timothy Pope had with Jonathan Pingle, UBS chief U.S. economist, who gave us some of his predictions for 2025.
Jonathan Pingle, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First of all, as far as the global economy goes, how should we be thinking about 2025? Is it going to be a good year or a rough year?
I think it's going to be a volatile year. I mean, 2024 was no picnic, right? I mean, we had 6 Fed cuts, 25, then they cut 100. Markets were up and down. Generally positive for growth, but now we're injecting all of the policy uncertainty of a new U.S. presidential administration, and by all accounts, probably an unconventional administration.
Here in China, we're about to enter the year of the snake. In the US, is it going to be the year of the tariff?
I think there's going to be a substantial amount of work done on tariffs. I do think they're going to start implementing tariffs in 2025. I think they're going to mount into 2026. But I think some of the volatility is just how uncertain what tariffs, where, the magnitude, how many goods, the timing. I mean, all of that is like to be discovered for financial markets and economists.
Do you expect a considerable amount of this volatility on day one, or do you think we're going to have calm waters while people wait and see?
Oh, my expectation is they're going to take advantage of day one. There are going to be a lot of announcements. We will also probably see executive orders. They've got a lot of priorities, though, so this isn't all going to be about tariffs on day one. I mean, some of it's going to be about the U.S. southern border, deregulation. You know, they've got a number of issues that they need to tackle with this incoming administration, but I expect they will use the platform of day one for a lot of policy pronouncements.
As far as China's markets go, we've seen over the last couple of weeks an increasing sense of caution, particularly around what to expect from a new US administration. Do you foresee that changing, or do you see that caution persisting throughout January and February?
My guess is the caution persists. I mean, I think we're all looking for a lot of clarity, And if we think about the U.S.-China relationship and what we saw in the first Trump administration, what we've watched in the campaign rhetoric, it does look like this new administration will likely take a confrontational stance on the trade relationship with China. And so I do think that warrants caution, but not just for China, also for President Trump. He did announce or threaten tariffs on Mexico and Canada. That has led to at least some conciliatory words. But if there really is going to be major trade action between the U.S. and China, I mean, they're the world's two biggest economies. They have massive global footprints throughout the rest of the world through other trading relationships. It's difficult to think that the rest of the world is going to be unscathed if the U.S. and China really ramp up actionable tariffs and trade restrictions.
In your view, is there a global economic or financial factor at the moment that you think is being overlooked and that is going to perhaps catch some people by surprise in 2025?
I mean, I think the Federal Reserve and likely some of the global central banks are going to keep lowering interest rates. If you look at financial market pricings, right now it seems like everyone's inflation, tariffs are inflation, there's going to be massive fiscal stimulus. To be honest, when I look at the inflation details and I look at the potential policies, they don't actually look all that inflationary to me. I do think that could potentially weigh on what the Trump administration really wants to put into effect. But as it is, it does seem like in some of the details we're looking at, inflation looks like it's going to resume cooling, I think, sometime later this year.
That's interesting, yeah, because I guess in the last couple of weeks we've seen US jobs data come out and it's been unexpectedly strong, which has sort of dampened some of those at least immediate rate cut hopes from the Fed.
But this is how the whole year is going. I mean, it's like we were pricing 6 cuts when I was here last year, then we were pricing 1, then they did 100. I mean, you had a job gain in October of 48,000, then you get one of 256. That story is going to continue, I think, in 2025, where the weak meets the strong hits the weak. But I think at the end of the day, I actually think this is probably a moderately cooling U.S. economy. I think inflation progress is going to resume, and I think that leaves open the scope for interest rate cuts for the Fed later this year.
So I guess just as you said at the beginning of the interview, volatility.
Yeah, I would expect a volatile 2025.
Moving on to today's Shanghai A to Z section. Flu cases are ticking upward around the city with H1N1 as the reigning champion. But don't panic just yet. There are things you can do to minimize your chances of catching it, as well as manage the symptoms if you do. Flu symptoms are usually more severe and spread faster than those of the common cold. Patients often experience a high fever with temperatures up to 39 degrees. Other common symptoms include a cough, sore throat, nasal congestion, headache, and muscle aches. In most cases, your immune system will fight off a bout of the flu in 5 to 10 days if no serious complications arise. And to minimize your chances of catching the flu, you should maintain good personal hygiene. Be sure to wash your hands frequently. Adopt a healthy lifestyle with a good diet and regular exercise. During flu seasons, monitor your health closely and get a flu shot to reduce the risk of infection. And of course, avoid close contact with individuals who are sick. But if you do fall ill, seek medical attention at once if you are running a high temperature for more than 2 days. Beginning a course of antiviral medication within 48 hours of the emergence of symptoms can shorten the illness and reduce the risk of complications. And for children, timely medication is especially important, but treatment is still advisable even after the 48-hour window if symptoms are severe. If you've got a question for us, you can find us on all the socials.
We'd love to hear from you. You can find all our content online as well, and join us here on Dragon TV, Monday to Friday.
Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.